Hey guys, welcome back to Brad's Repair. Today we are finally going to be trying to install a catch can onto my wife's 2008 Nissan Altima. So I want to go over a little bit over the catch can, what it comes with, and the whole process of actually installing it. I have actually watched videos online. Some of them are just kind of showing you putting them on the car, don't really go into detail of how they work, what they come with, how to set them up, things like that. So today we're going to do that. I do have my son recording with me, so he will be doing most of my camera work. But let's jump right into it. So what you automatically come with, depending on what kit you get, you have your catch can, you'll have various fittings, you'll have a filter, and you will have some thread tape and some of this stuff. And I already have this on here, but we'll start with how it's kind of set up. I've already got my two barb fittings put on that I know what I want. They're threaded like that. You'll just put thread tape on them. Put my plug in the top because we will not be using this. And then I already have this for my mounting bracket, and I bought some aftermarket hose because the hose that comes with it is not good at quality at all. So if you want to hold this, I will now open up this catch can and kind of show what's inside of it. Starting with the top, you actually have on some of these a fluid level checker, like a dipstick. Then the bottom here will just unscrew, kind of like an oil filter. Inside of here, you will have a rubber O-ring for sealing. Then you will have a hole here that will feed into your out port, and then on your in port you will have a baffle. Just simply unscrews like that. It's ported on both sides of it, and what you would do is actually have a little piece tore off. You will take some of the screen, you will set it inside of this container right here, and then just simply screw it back on. Make sure not to get it in your threads. This entire thing is aluminum. You could potentially damage your threads this way. They also will come with some O-rings for your inlet and outlet ports. I did not use that on these. I just used Teflon tape. This is the tape that come with. It's just plain Jane regular plumber's tape. I didn't use that. I used the Blue Monster tape. It's a little thicker and it's better for better sealing. And this one is actually says on here Blue Monster Silver Seal, and on here somewhere ideal for sealing chrome fixtures. This is chrome plated, even though it's aluminum. You get the idea. So then all we're gonna do, we got that in there. They do say that you could put some of this down in here, but for this video purpose we're not gonna do that. And all that is to help filter it out. So the way this works is, if you can see on the side here, it says out with an arrow, and then it says in with an arrow. So this will be connected to your PCV valve side, where it's marked out because it's going out of the PCV and into this, and then on the side that is marked in, it will be actually routed back into your valve cover if you set it up that way. Another way you could set this up is you could take this port off of the inlet side, take the plug out the top, plug this end, and then you would take one of your larger barbs like this, or even a smaller one, whichever one will fit with your thing. Put your breather on there, screw that down in there, and then you will be then venting to atmosphere. That is one option. Just know that if you do that, depending on your car setup, you may have to plug off some other vacuum on on your car's engine. But with this is a complete inline system the way I have it set up. So it's going to come from the PCV, it's going to be ran into the outside, it's going to run all down into here, and then all the vapor will run up into there to this side where the baffle was, where this stuff is. This will catch any extra moisture or oil that's trying to escape, and then it will vent out of this into this port and back into the intake manifold. So no actual blow by, it's just pressure. If set up correctly, that is the idea. Some of these companies will send vacuum line with theirs. The vacuum line that they send is complete garbage. Do not use it. Just figure out what size you actually need, and then go buy real vacuum line. I did have to buy some new clamps. They will not come with clamps. You will have to have your own vacuum clamps. So we're gonna put this stuff away, get it out of the way, and then we'll go up here to the top of the motor, and we're gonna kind of figure out where we want this thing mounted at. Where you mount it, you're gonna want it to not be in a super hot area. You're kind of limited on space like I am. You kind of have to play with things. I just happened to buy this bracket when I bought my clamps, so I'm thinking maybe over here like that, and then it'll be over top of the intake. What do you think? Think like that?
Yeah. Unless you fold it like you said.
Because it's all about placement. Now here's a key factor that they don't tell you, and a lot of people that I've seen do videos on these don't tell you. You want this to be higher or even height with your highest point. So for us on this is our highest point. So we want this canister to be at least level with this, if not higher. Higher is ideal, but if we can't get it higher, that's fine. We at least want it to be level with that height, which for us would basically be around in this general area. But it's all about preference. And as you can see on this car, I don't have a lot of options. But what we'll do for now, we'll figure out the mounting point shortly. We're gonna go ahead and get our vacuum line. And you can get vacuum line at pretty much any parts house. Just take your vacuum line. What I always recommend to people is take the line that's on your car, that's already run to your PVC system, take it into the parts house with you. Then they can match it up. You can tell them how much you need. I usually recommend getting at least 6 foot of tubing. That way you know roughly, give or take. That way you don't really have to guess at it per se. You don't have not enough type thing. You'll always have plenty, because anywhere on your motor, 6 foot will basically run across the length of this engine bay. So this is where our PCV valve is. So we're going to undo this clamp. We're going to loosen that hose. Then we're going to take it off of our intake side. And then you can see where I had a little bit too big of a hose. Look at all that. That's all off of that, and then all the way down the side of this. And that can is going to catch all of this oil that was all over here. So all the oil, all the blow by is coming in here through the PCV, through a tube, into here, and then it's being mixed through this with vacuum and gas, and then it's going back into the combustion chamber, and it's either being burnt off, or you could have leak down, blow by, where it goes down where the oil is leaking down past your cylinders, and you don't want that, because eventually what happens is all of this is going to end up on the back of your valves, your exhaust valves, your intake valves. It's going to create a carbon film on the back of them, and it's going to create a whole issue for you. You don't want that. A lot of catch cans were actually designed to go on turbo and supercharged cars because they create a lot more blow by than your naturally aspirated vehicles such as this one. But on your modern day ones, it definitely doesn't hurt to have it. So for temporary mock-up purposes, until we see where we're going to put it, we think we're going to put it about right here. So it'd be probably about like that hole right there, which you still want the hood to close. So in reality, it would actually be a little bit lower because it's going to go underneath of this plate here. But I'm just going to hold it like this for the moment. And then we know we need the outside to be random there. So I'll tell you what, for temporary purposes, so that we don't have to hold this thing, we're just going to go ahead and loosen that bolt right there. You can either find a mounting position that's already on here, using kind of like I am, or you can create your own spot. Use a pop rivet. You can use a threaded insert, which I recommend over a pop rivet. But everybody has their preference. They do make brackets, but of course, once again, it's all about how you install it. So I'm gonna loosen this shock tower bolt here. I don't think taking one bolt out is gonna hurt anything. Okay. And then I have a little bit of play. Oh, I might have to loosen that one to get a little bit more play out of it. All the way out, but it will give us a little bit of play to slide that bracket up underneath of there. So, oh yeah, like a glove. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and actually shorten that whole dent. See if I can get my cutters out. Take my metal shears, and I'm gonna cut it to about right there. Yeah, that should be fine, about right there. Hold the catch can for me. Alright, not a perfect straight cut, but good enough to get the job done. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this line off. Oh yeah, nice and tight. Just the way you're going to want it, for sure. Lift up on that a little bit. And the good thing is that it kind of sets almost flush with this too, so that's actually perfect for this case scenario. And I'm just going to run this bolt back down through here. I think it'll self-tap through that because it's just like a galvanized aluminum bracket. It was actually part of a fixture that I got out of like a bracket for plumbing, out of the plumbing section at my local hardware store. So sometimes you gotta get creative. They make these in all various designs and shapes and colors, finishes. This would just was a cheapo off of Amazon. I think it was maybe $25-ish, something like that. So not super expensive. Okay, it's gonna kind of be in line like that-ish. Yeah, I think we're gonna put it about right there. I think that'll be okay. Should have brought the old wrist saver out for this one. Okay. Now we can go ahead and tighten the other bolt, and I'll take a torque wrench and retorque those to spec shortly. We'll just get them as good as we can for now. Okay. Now, this is our outside. Let's go ahead and open up these clamps here. I got an assortment of clamps. You can get whatever style you want. There's all kinds of different style of clamps that you can come up with. I'm just gonna kind of run through this and just kind of pick one. Whatever seems the best at the moment is what I'll go with. I want it to be easy to work with, but I don't want it to be so small that I'm forcing it to go on and off. So like that, that'd be too small, so we're gonna go up to the next size, which is gonna be slightly too large, but that's okay, we'll make it work. So, let's see. And always, here's a key tip for you. Always put it in a way that you can get your clamps back off if you need to. So if you're using the regular kind that you got, like a regular clamp that you got to use a screwdriver with, or you're using the factory tension clamps, make sure you have them in a position where you can actually get them off, and that they don't interfere with one another. And then if you have these little keyed clamps, you can actually take, and with a little bit of effort, you can pop these little keys off. I'm just going to leave them on there for my intended purposes. I'm gonna get my metal cutting shears. Yes, I know they're metal cutting shears, and I'm getting ready to use them for a silicone rubber hose, but I won't tell nobody if you don't. So now we're gonna cut that just a little bit long, because I'd rather have it too long than too short. So we're gonna cut it about, let's see, because I want that kind of tight on there. I don't want it to be too tight. So we're gonna cut it about the tip of my finger length. Right there, and cut. And with these versus the knife, they make a pretty nice clean cut. I'll tell you what I am gonna do for this, because of clearance issues. I'm gonna take my old tension clamp off of the end of this, and I am gonna reuse this, because this is actually not the correct size. So that's something else to look for too, guys. I ended up having to replace this, and it was all I had laying around at the moment, because the original one kind of dry rotted, and I replaced my valve cover on this car, and so that's what I had laying around. So, you know, always double check your sizes. So we're gonna put that down on there like that. Now see, we have a little bit of extra, which is good, because then we could always just, you could run a zip tie around this and connect it together. It's still out of the way of the bracket here, so you can still put the pretty engine cover back on if you have one, or if you choose not to, that's fine too. This is my wife's car. My wife likes pretty shiny things, so I guess for her purposes, we're gonna put it back on. Get that old stupid price tag out of the way. Now, for this guy here, I think I'm gonna put it just like that, because that looks to be the best for me. And one thing to remember when putting a catch can on, especially one like this, not all of them have this little dipstick to be able to check the level of it. The intended purpose of this is to say, okay, if you pull it out, you run your finger across it like this. This one I have a little bit of residue because this is actually off of the old one off my car. I changed mine because I didn't need as big of a catch can. But you can check this and say, okay, it's time to change, or time to drain it out. So make sure when you do this, so that you don't have the headache of having to pull this entire bracket back off, you have enough clearance underneath the can so that you can actually just reach under here like this, unscrew this safely without spilling oil everywhere, unless you want oil all over your engine bay, which is a nightmare to get off. You'll smell it forever. It takes forever for engine oil to burn off. It's not a good thing. So just make it where you can make it easily accessible. I've actually seen people put these on the EcoBoost F-150s, and they'll bolt them right to the side of the valve cover. I've seen them on some of the older F-150s, like the 08s and 09s, where the entire grill is part of the hood. They'll actually, when you lift the hood, the grill kind of comes up with it, so you see the whole front of your intercooler and your radiator. They'll actually just bolt them under there, so that way if they have to change it, they can just go right there and just pop their hood. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury, so, you know, we're gonna make it happen, Captain. And then we're just gonna check the length of this one. That's way more than we need, so that's perfect. And guys, this right here, this length of hose was 5 foot, so way more than you're ever gonna need. And the good thing is if you go, say, 6 foot, right, and then at some point down the road you've taken your factory, we'll use this one as an example, you have your factory length of hose and you're like, oh, I lost it, but I want to save these because, you know, I might use them for a different project. If you go 5 foot like I'm doing, or go 6 foot, you got that little bit of extra you can store away for a rainy day. That way, if you have to go back to your factory, just zoom with a hose, you got a brand new hose. You don't have to put the old thing that came with it, you know, originally. So I'm gonna cut about right there. Uh-oh, here we go. Well, that wasn't the prettiest cut, but it will seal, so. You know what, I'm gonna go with the OG clamp again, just for convenience. It gives it, with those style of hose clamps, since I have a nice pretty engine cover for my wife, I want her to be happy, so I'm gonna put that clamp back on there, the factory clamp back on it, so that way. And you know what, I'm just gonna snake this guy up underneath of this hose, just so that it's kind of out of the way a little bit. Like that. Then we're going to push it on there. Push it as far as you can till you can't no more. Okay. Now the initial setup is done, and this is basically what it looks like. But check this out. We know for our factory cover, this is a mounting point, this little bracket here, and a bracket here, and then I think somewhere up here, and then maybe one over there. Give me just a second, hold on. here's what we're gonna do to help with clearance. Elbow clearance out, right? And you don't want this super tight, right? You just want it to where it will kind of mate these together, so it's kind of bowed out like that. But if I do this right here with a fancy little zip tie, and the good thing is you're probably not going to see the zip tie, and if you do, hey, they, you know, this is the only color I got right now. It don't match my cold air intake, but hey, for now it'll do. And then we're just going to slip that off right there. Perfect. And then that's pretty much it. And then to kind of just really quickly show you, I'll go ahead and I'll start the car, and you can kind of see how it still runs the same, and it doesn't really change anything. The only thing you've now done is, instead of having a regular piece of hose like this running from your PCV valve up to your intake here, is now it's going to come through your PCV valve. It'll run up through this hose here to the out. If yours doesn't say out, then it would be the side that doesn't have a baffle in it. Like the catch can in my car, it actually has a baffle. It self-filters, but you'll run it from PCV all the way up to the outlet side, which should just be a hole that's going to come drain down into here. All your oil is going to get trapped inside of this can. All your vapor is going to come back up through the baffle, through the inlet, all the way down the hose into here. So now, instead of having oil that's coming down into here, all you have is the vapor, which is going to help you out. It's going to lengthen the life of your engine. It's going to make your car happier, because now you don't have all this oil that's dripping down on the back of your intake and exhaust valves and creating carbon. Plus, if you're like this one, this car has 230-ish thousand miles on it. It can't hurt it, you know what I mean? So let's go ahead and start it and see what it sounds like. As you can see, still runs the same, still idles the same. The only thing you're doing is just hoping your engine lasts a little bit longer. This may or may not have been in depth enough to get you to this point of deciding on whether you need a catch can or not. If it does, send me a picture, put a picture in a comment, or send me a video of how you set yours up and how you installed your catch can on your car. I hope this helps. If it did, great. If it didn't, shoot me a message if you have any questions. I'll do my best to answer them for you. If I wasn't clear enough on the definition or purpose of it, the best thing I can tell you to do, guys, is do kind of like I did, which is research, which is, if you're coming here, that's kind of the purpose of it, or at least to know how to install one. Ironically enough, Google does give a very good description of what a catch can's purpose is, especially if you have a newer car. Anything 2000 and higher, you can definitely lengthen the life of your engine. I hope this helps. I hope you like the video. If you do, send me a like, a subscribe, hit the little notification button. I'm doing my best to get videos out as frequently as I can. I'm gonna hopefully get it to a point where I can start posting videos every Monday, and maybe, you know, if not Monday, on Saturdays or Sundays, or maybe both. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.